Rhetorical schemes. Ooh, fancy word. This is another structural element that is a limitation. Remember I talked about limitations are liberating? If you confine yourself with certain things, then you have fewer choices, which is really good. Now you just have to go deep instead of having all these choices. That's why I think, in my opinion, that's why I love perfect rhyme on the title especially. You know, especially on the title, the last word of the title or something. Perfect rhyme with that because you have fewer choices with perfect rhyme, and that's got to be right. And it also snaps its tail and really hits that title hard, and you remember it, you hear it, you remember it better. It gives it some more importance because of perfect rhyme. Perfect rhyme has a elevated sense to it. It's like, oh, that sounds more important because it's perfect rhyme, you know. Has a different feel to it because it's not as conversational as near rhyme. It gives a little bit of a higher brow feeling to it. So you remember the title, and it gives it more importance when it's perfect rhyme. But the rest of the song I'll use near rhyme because it's conversational and no one talks in perfect rhyme, you know. So these are all tools, but that's a limitation. That's a self-imposed limitation. That's the term, self-imposed. I'm going to use perfect rhyme on the title most of the time. That's a nice obsession, you know. It's like that's what I do. And you don't have to do that. You have just as good an argument the other way if you want. But a rhetorical scheme is a self-imposed limitation. And a rhetorical scheme is, there's two that are really useful for songwriters. The first one is anaphora, fancy words, there they are. Anaphora is the repetition of the same or similar words at the beginning of each line of verse. And there's some examples. By the time we get to Phoenix, one moment more before he cheats. Your bartender, back then, right now. You can listen to all those and hear that. So anaphora is the repetition of same or similar words at the beginning of each line of verse. She'll find the note I left. By the time I get to Phoenix, she'll be rising. She'll find the note I left hanging on her door. She'll laugh when she reads the part that says I'm leaving, 'cause I've left that girl so many times before. Second verse. By the time I make Oklahoma. So the anaphora, by the time. It's a little different. By the time I make Phoenix, by the time I make Oklahoma, and then by the time I make Albuquerque. The last verse, by the time I make Oklahoma. And so that's self-imposed. You know, they didn't just stumble across that. You know, he set up those limitations. Same way with this song by Mindy Smith, One Moment More. Hold me, even though I know you're leaving. Show me all the reasons you would stay. Give me just one part of you to cling to, and keep me everywhere you go. Keep me. Hold me, show me, give me, keep me. See, those are things that you stick to. Yeah, it's a really, really helpful tool. There's a contemporary song, Back Then, Right Now, by Tyler Hubbard, who was the other half of Florida Georgia Line. It's called Back Then, Right Now. Okay, listen for the anaphora, the repetition of the same or similar words at the beginning of each verse. It could be the beginning of each line too, or the beginning of just maybe the first two lines of every section, or the first three lines. In other words, you can hear it's a intentional repetition. He gets a lot out of back then. Yes. Back then, yeah. I could use a little back then right now. So there's that play on words, right? Back then, and now. It's that opposite thing we talked about when you title tumble. Yeah. Back when that blacktop, back when that Walmart, back when my old guitar, back when a work truck, back when you took a picture, blah, 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 blah. But that's a self-imposed limitation. You could say, I'm going to write within this structure, and it causes you to go. You might start every line with, I remember when. Right. It's a great limitation. I remember when the skies were just open, and I remember when the sun in your eyes. It seemed like we were only something, nothing, but I remember something, be surprised. Second verse. Yeah, it's a great template to write within. So listen to all those songs under anaphora. Before he cheats, your bartender, back then, right now. And then there's a second one on page 31 called Epistrophe. Again, is it important to know what these are called? I don't know. It's a little pedantic. But if you're listening, again, if you're listening, you go, oh, that's that one thing he talked. That's that. Oh, they're repeating at the beginning. Oh, I forget what anaphora. Something. That's okay if you don't remember. You don't have to say, oh, I love your anaphoras in this song. You're not gonna impress a songwriter or come up to him at a reward. Your use of epistrophe was right on target. They're gonna go, what the hell, man? But just knowing what it's called will help you identify it when you hear it, right? So you can draw those maps. That's kind of the point, right? Epistrophe is another one. It's the repetition of same or similar words at the end of each section. Okay, anaphora at the beginning, epistrophe at the end. Beautiful. Yeah, Lori McKenna. Wonderful song. Did you hear it? at the end of every section, always stay humble and kind. At the end of every stanza, if you will, even the chorus E part. So, if you intentionally set out to write a song and say, I've got a title here in my hook book, and I'm going to write a song using epistrophe. I'm going to put this title at the end of every one of these verses and the chorus. It limits your choices, and you write within that template. It's freeing, man. Instead of like, I don't know, maybe, what do I want to write about? Let's start at the top of the chorus. I was looking out the window. It's like that's one way to do it. But boy, if you can put the more limitation. When a song comes out not well written, I have found out that usually because you were left with too many choices. And you couldn't decide which were the most important ones. You got 3.5 minutes, man. So perfect rhyme's a limitation, a self-imposed limitation. These rhetorical schemes, they're called in English writing. It's anaphora and epistrophe, and there's some other ones, but these are most effective for songwriters. That's a self-imposed limitation. Perfect rhyme is a self-imposed limitation. Genre is a self-imposed limitation. And not a bad idea if you want to succeed in a particular genre. It might be good to really concentrate on that genre. One of the curses of being versatile as a songwriter is to maybe not have as much success in one genre. You know what I mean? I like to write all kinds of different things, and I got some cool stuff on my wall. But if I knew songwriters who could do other things, but they're like, man, this country music, country songwriting, because it's a business too, and you want to succeed. So there's a good argument for staying in your lane. That's a limitation as well. Perfect rhyme's a limitation. 3.5 minutes is a limitation. Perfect rhyme. What else? There's lots of them. Remember we talked about Dennis Lindy's Town? Mm-hmm. The triggering town? Mm-hmm. That's a limitation. I'm only going to write what's happening in this town. Mm-hmm. Regionalism. Yeah. Regionalism. I'm going to write about Paris in the 40s. Or I'm going to write cowboy songs at the turn of the century, man. And if someone says, "Oh, we need, what we need for this record? We need one of those. We need one of those songs that Steve, call him up. We need one of those." And you get kind of a reputation for writing a certain kind, islandy songs. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, islandy. You think of limitations as a negative thing, especially in this culture where you can have everything you want, go for it all. That's what sells cologne. But the real life is really lived within limitations. That's something we learn from this craft that you can apply to your life. And it's freeing. It's so freeing, man. I had a title before The Lonely came to town. And I intentionally set out to make that into a rhetorical scheme. I'm going to put it at the end of each section. And I remember that being so freeing, And so rather than kind of wondering what to do in your writing organically and just see what happens, that's a beautiful thing too, but to work within limitations like, okay, I'm setting up this structure, then you can be as wild as you want to be. And it's actually, you can have more freedom within structure, like structural limitations. Yeah. Well, And here's the thing: if you're writing a song and you're not having fun, something's wrong. Especially when you get good at it. If it's hard and you're not having fun, something's wrong, and it's usually you haven't set up enough limitations. Because limitations like games, right? Games are all about limitations. Basketball, tennis, don't go there, that's the line you can't step over. It's only this far, if the ball hits that line, it's out. So you got all these structural limitations involved, and it's fun. It's fun. If it was like, I don't care, just hit it wherever the hell you want to, it wouldn't be fun at all. Right? Okay, now this is cool, a combination of rhetorical schemes. This is really neat. So you can have epistrophe and anaphora, or you can have both in different combinations. That can be really cool. And there's some examples there. Listen to those examples. I wrote a song with Stapleton, Chris Stapleton. We wrote a handful, I wouldn't say a bunch, but we wrote a number of songs together. But we wrote a song called Here Lately. Okay. We didn't set out and go, hey, we should use a combination of rhetorical schemes. We just did it because we're in beginner's mind on this side. You know what I mean? We had already worked through beginner's mind, the crisis of self-consciousness. Now we're to this other side, and we just know instinctively what to do. But we had to go through this period to get to there. Remember that? White belt, black belt, and white belt again. You remember the analogy? Such a great analogy. But so I'll just, here lately. I guess you want to hear him sing it? Here we go. Okay, listen where the title shows up. It starts at the beginning, here lately. I've noticed how there haven't been fresh roses sitting on the windowsill. There's just empty space. That old blue vase is gone. Here lately, right? You'll hear it at the beginning of each stanza, and you also hear it at the end. But she ain't been here lately. See what we did there? Get it? But it's cool just because Chris is singing it, and it was a long time ago. But it's got a great chorus.
Here lately, I've noticed how there haven't been fresh roses.
Have you heard
sitting
this?
On the windowsill. Now there's empty space. That old blue vase is gone.
Second verse.
Here lately, I've noticed how I haven't heard her laughter as it echoed down the hall. And I recall a house that was a home. Here lately, been thinking just how much I miss my baby. And I'd do anything she wants me to. And I'd say I love you again. But she ain't been here lately.
See what we did?
I thought it'd be easy.
Now, I think good taste justifies the fact that we didn't do it here in this verse. Here lately, you know what I mean? You expect it. We didn't. I thought it'd be easy. I'd never have the chance to even miss her, spending nights out on the town, but I just hang around, straighten pictures on the wall. Fourth verse, yeah, I'd be all right. I'd learn that I didn't really need her. In about a week or two, I'd find things to do, and I'd be standing tall. But here lately...
That's the beginning of the chorus, right?
But here lately... Yeah, so it's at the top of the chorus, too. But I'm sure we maybe talked about, do we want here lately in the third verse and fourth verse as well? Because we set up an expectation for it. But something said...
Too much, huh?
Yeah. You expect it, but when you don't get it, it's a nice surprise if it's inevitable. Remember, it's that expectation, surprise, and inevitability thing? I think it was nice to maybe set it up and think maybe you're going to get it, but not get it, and then get, I thought it'd be easy, you know? But then you get it at the end of, then you get it again at the top of the chorus. That's an interesting chord change in the chorus. Were you hearing those chord changes? Can you hear changes like that pretty good and go, okay, it's 1, 4. I bet you're good at that, right? Writing charts out and stuff.
As far as like the scales, I'm not know, but I can hear the different tonalities, but I don't know what they are. Like I don't know what they sound like per se. You know what I mean?
It's but you know chord changes like 1, 4, 5, and
As far as like
when you're writing out charts.
I usually like I don't have my ears trained. Like if you play me an A, I can't identify. Oh, that's an A or that's an A.
No, it's not an A. But if I'm playing an A and then I go to a D,
yeah.
That's 1, 4, right?
Some of that, yeah.
Oh, some of that. Okay.
Some of that, yeah.
It's an interesting chord change. It's very interesting. I've never heard another song that does it. It goes from here lately. It's in D. Mm-hmm. Okay, the chorus goes to G. So what, right? It's a 4. Here lately, been thinking just how much I miss my F sharp minor. Okay, 3 minor. And I'd do anything she wants me to. That's the 2 minor. E minor. Then it goes to flat 7, C. Okay, and I'd say I love you again, B7. But she ain't been, E. And then it goes to D, here lately. So the cadence is E to D instead of A to D. You know what I mean? Like a 5-1 relationship. It goes from E to D, and that's an odd, that's an
Key are we in?
D.
So it goes to 2 and to 1, right?
Yeah.
2 is E.
2, 7 to 1 as the cadence. It's odd. And it sounds like a steel guitar line. Here, but she ain't been here lately. It has a, I don't know. And it's an odd chord change. The melody has a lot to do. It actually modulates to E for just a second. Because it goes to B7, which is the 5 of E. But she ain't been, see, because here lately, G, I've been thinking just how much I miss my baby, F sharp minor, 3 minor, and I'd do anything she wants me, 2 minor, E minor. And then it goes ba-da-dum, now it's starting to move, it goes to C, which is a flat 7, and I'd say I love you, here's where it goes, hey, I'd say I love you again, half step down to B7, which is the 5 of E. But she ain't been, now it's in E. But then we go here lately and go back to D. It's odd. It's an odd thing. People are like, what? I remember the guys reading the charts. Is this right? You know, yeah, it's right. But that's a nice example of using both anaphora and epistrophe. Here lately, been thinking about just. And then, but she ain't been here lately. So it's the beginning of 2 verses anyway, and at the end of each chorus. And at the top of each chorus, here lately. And of course, we use the old twist, but she ain't been here, comma, lately.
But then the chorus ends with that again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's neat, huh?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a self-imposed limitation. I can't tell you how freeing that is. This can be very interesting, too. Be always aware of what might seem a mistake. Writing with a co-writer, whatever. Always be aware that, here's what we did. It's better to, we wrote the song called Before the Lonely Came to Town. And the beginning says, church bells on a Sunday morning said everyone's in church, right? We loved that. And then she goes, wait a minute, we used church twice. Church bells on a Sunday morning said everyone's in church. And somewhere she heard, you can't do that, right?
Which song is this you're talking
It's not in there.
Oh,
It's not in there. It's a song I wrote called Before the Lonely Came to Town. And there's a line, church bells, the first verse, church bells on a Sunday morning said everyone's in church, right? And the natural response was, oh, wait a minute, we used church twice. And it's like it's all of a sudden it's a sin, you know. And so we're like, oh, you're right, you can't do that. right? And so we're going, okay, church, and we love that line. And so something hit me and I went, wait a minute. What if we made it sound intentional? Like we meant to do that. So now that became a limitation that I took advantage of. And so the first two lines are, church bells on a Sunday morning said everyone's in church, and working for a living is why you went to work.
Working church.
Working and work.
Working and work. Church, work and work. Now it's like, oh, he meant to do that. You see, and now it has a structure to it it was a potential mistake, but then you go, wait a minute, we can make that into something that sounds, because we love that line, maybe we can make that sound like we meant to do it instead of, this is subtle. It's the listener going to go, wait a minute, pull the car over. You used church twice. I ain't buying this record, No, but, we obsess about these things. So that became, I said, wait a minute, let's make that a device that we intentionally did. That we intentionally did it. That's a neat thing. So always look at potential oops and go, wait a minute, let's see if we can make that into something that is structurally intentional. And then you got something really sweet. Church bells on a Sunday morning said everyone's in church, and working for a living is why you went to work. It's nice. It's a nice device now when before we got to scrap that. No, you don't have to necessarily. That's really being aware of like, wait a minute, can we make that into something that sounds like we meant to do it? And the listener appreciates that. They go, oh, we're in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing. Yeah. Okay. Combination of rhetorical schemes. Look at that. Okay, here's on page 32, another recommended exercise. Listen to the following song examples and identify the structure, again, as well as the title lines. Now this is and then a little below that, select a song title, again, from your hook book and write within the following structure. Write a verse and a chorus only. And the verse, the title is going to be the first line of the verse. Not the first line of the chorus, the first line, the first thing you hear. And you can write sometimes you can write a song with the chorus first. Yeah, there are songs that you write the chorus first, right? And you can write, the title could be the first line of the chorus, which we're going to look at. But this is an exercise in this is a verse, and make the title the first line of the verse. That's interesting. Shattered like a window pane, broken by a storm, each tiny piece of me lies alone and scattered, far beyond repair, all my shiny dreams just lying there. Chorus, I'm broken, but I'm laughing. It's the sound of falling glass. I hope that you won't mind if I should cry in public while I wait for this to pass, 'cause I'm shattered into fragments cold and gray. Sweep the pieces all away. This is what makes me cry. Then no one will ever know how much it mattered. That's something deep inside of me shattered. I'm sorry, that fills me up. Sweep the pieces away. Then no one will ever know how much it mattered. That's something deep inside of me shattered. That's just got it all. And that opening line, shattered, is an onomatopoeia. So look through your hook book. Do you have a title that you can start a song with? Verse 1 with the title. Boom. It doesn't have to be shattered. It could be whatever, home again, or whatever it is. It can be more than one word, but it's the first line of the verse. And it could be the first line of the chorus and in the end of the chorus too. Whatever you want to do. That's up to you at that point. All the assignment is to place that title at the beginning of the verse. That's what that does. And there's some other, there's another one, Where It Ends, a new song, fairly new, 6 months old. It was number 1, actually, by this guy named Bailey Zimmerman. It's called Where It Ends. And listen for that, too, because the title is the very first thing you hear as well. And contrasting great lines with mediocre lines is a good thing. So if you have a great line, it's often nice to write a mediocre line. Mediocre not meaning bad, just not great. Right, Sondheim said this. Actually, I got that from him. And then when I listened to country songs and great songs. I'm like, oh, they did that there too. So it's a nice idea to contrast your great lines, the lines that you really want people to go, oh, yeah. Like that mattered line we just heard. Then no one will ever know how much it mattered. That goes, it wouldn't have that power if the line before it was great and rocking your world. So contrast a great line with a not so great line will magnify the great line. It's a nice thing. And there's some good examples here. It's 32, but I'll be all right. I'm just missing you. Okay, that's okay. And this is me kissing you. That's a great line. X's and O's in a letter from home. The next one. Now those were some good times, but lately they don't seem to last. Okay, then I guess I'm not nearly as strong as a drink in your glass. Boom. And as to be expected, a few miles down the road, my really nothing's wrong here went up in smoke. Great line. And here's a classic, Christopherson. Then he stumbles as he's leaving, and he wonders if the reason, here we go, is the beer that's in his belly or the tear that's in his eye. He wanted you to hear that a certain way. He wanted that to be important. So he set it up with a line that segued into it with a little more casual introduction to that great line. You don't want great line after great line after great line after, you know. I love this one. This is a new song a guy walks into. Well, it's old now, but I'm walking, talking, drinking proof. A cliche in a corner booth. Ow. That's when all the writers at the Bluebird go like this. Okay, pre-chorus. Ooh. Here's a whole nother section here. This is another part of structure. Again, I wouldn't consider pre-chorus part of the form. Remember I delineated, I talked about form being different than structure. Form is AABA. Form is verse-chorus forms, right? Now what happens on the inside of that is the structure, right? Is the structure. Whether it's a bedroom, inside the house, whether it's a bedroom or a hallway or a linen closet, which I always use now, it's great. Pre-choruses have a certain sound to them. Obviously they're really delaying the chorus. They're setting up an expectation for the chorus. It's building, here it comes, we're not going to give it to you yet, we know you want it, we're going to delay it for about 8 measures, and here it is in all its grandeur, the chorus. So pre-chorus kind of shifts down. Okay, we were in third gear, we're going, okay, down to second gear. Okay, you want it, don't you? Okay, and then you just kind of sit on it and then ramp it up for the chorus. It's another thing, it's another example of expectation, surprise, and inevitability. Classic example is Live Like You're Dying. Did you hear the pre-chorus? I mean, it's like, okay, it's coming. Yeah. Yeah, he did it twice. Yeah. He did it twice. Now, do you have to use the pre-chorus the second time? No, you don't. Right. That was a good choice that he did. And it's, if he didn't, would it have worked? Maybe. But this is interesting. Song structures that rely heavily on the choruses. Songs that are all about the chorus, right? And a lot of songs are. Often you can eliminate the second verse altogether by repeating the pre-chorus. So verse, pre-chorus, chorus, pre-chorus, chorus. That's a great structure.
Is that why you have half verse? It should be pre-chorus then?
No, I would write that exercise is write a verse, then a pre-chorus, then a chorus, then half a verse into the chorus. So you're eliminating the pre-chorus the second time. But this is a different example where the pre-chorus, there is no second verse at all. Even when it's half a verse, there's no second verse. It's
pre-chorus and into
verse, chorus. No, I'm sorry, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, pre-chorus,
and back into the
chorus. Yeah. Now that second pre-chorus can have different words too.
But different same
Set the expectations again.
Yeah, it could be different words, or it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? So, take a right, getting lost on purpose. You see that? Page 35. You can read that or you can listen to me. if you're up against, here, this is the scenario that happened. Okay? I had a student come in, this is a long time ago, I had a student come in with a song and said, I don't know where to go in the second verse. Well, oh well, you should have maybe spent time beforehand going, where does this song go? Is this song worth writing? You know, what? Maybe I should start at the end and work backwards. Okay, because it's a real common thing. You write the heck out of a song, then you get to the second verse and you go, I don't know what to say. You know, the curse of the second verse, I call it. And there's lots of ways to work through that. Well, there are some ways to work through that. And one of the ways to work through that is go someplace in the second verse which that doesn't really make any sense. Okay? I call it take a right, getting lost on purpose. You're driving down the first verse. You're driving through the chorus. You know where you are. Now, your second verse. Where does this song go? Take a right. What do you mean take a right? Take a right. But I don't know how. Take a right! You take a right. Now you're on this other road. What the hell? But you're not lost because you go, okay, there's the same, okay, it's running parallel with that road, so I think I'm good. Okay, we're still going north. Okay. Now you're seeing things you would have never seen before, right? Never. Oh, no, I've never been here before. Now the goal is to hook this road up to the original road. Okay? So go someplace, and I told her, go someplace you can't even justify yet. And so she came in, here's the idea. She came in with, summer back in Texas, it was hot. Driving down I-35, heading out to Louisville Lake, anything just to feel alive. Verse 2, I saw him on the pier by the boats. Ooh. And I could tell by the look in his eye, ooh, like a July sky filled with fireworks. We were destined for just one night. Oh, behave. Right? Right? And then she had chorus number 1, summertime on the water, a captain's son, that's the boy, and my father's only daughter, that's her. The night breeze was hot and getting hotter. Okay. And they could have made love under the boat, and then he sailed away, and she comes back to this spot every summer to remember that time, right? But that's strawberry wine,
Right.
and she knew that. She knew that, and she goes, yeah, but so I don't know where to go. And then I just read something about going someplace you can't justify. I think it was a poet talking about when he gets trapped in a poem, he just goes somewhere that he can't even justify yet in hopes that it will hook up to the original meaning, intention. And so I said, I don't know, just go. And this is what she came. I said, you know what I said? I said, I don't know, maybe she moves away. Okay, where? I don't know, I don't know. And she's like, maybe she moves to the city. I'll go, okay, move her to the city. What's she doing now? I don't know, maybe she's working. Where's she working? Maybe she's a bartender. Okay, second verse, she moves away and she's a bartender. Now bring that in, okay? And this is what she came up with. Summer back in Texas, it was hot driving down I-35, heading out to Louisville Lake, anything to just feel alive. Then I saw him on the pier by the boats, and I could tell by the look in his eye, like a July sky filled with fireworks, we were destined for just one night. Oh, behave. Chorus 1, summertime on the water, a captain's son and my father's only daughter. The night breeze was hot and getting hotter. She came back with this. Next verse. Now I'm tending this bar in Chicago, and look what the midnight drug in. He had that same look in his eye, and he said, it's sure good to see you again. And we talked about growing up crazy, and we drank a few beers in his car. He pulled me hard up against him, and I said, you know, I don't live very far. How cool is that?
So it's kind of like a bookend, but
Is that innuendo or what? You know, I don't live very far. Do you love it or what?
yeah, that's funny.
That's good. And then chorus 2, city lights on the boulevard. City lights on the boulevard. A captain's son and my father's only daughter. The night breeze was hot and getting hotter. Ah. And then the bridge spun out this. Some books get better page after page, and wine gets sweeter with age, but first love just fades. That was her intention. I don't know if it's great. I don't know if the song's done, but her idea was, it was less about the guy and more about the time. Mm-hmm. And so when he showed up again, same guy, but that's the lesson that the moral of the story was that for her. But I love the fact that she came back with, now I'm tending this bar in Chicago and look what the midnight drug in. How cool is that? It goes from here. It's like a quick cut in a movie. You're watching this movie and all of a sudden it goes black and white and it says 1942, Delaware, or somewhere, you know, and like now you're back here. It's a quick cut. It goes to a completely different place, but if it's done right, it makes sense and hooks up to the original intention. So if you're stuck, I don't know, make him join the Marine Corps. I don't know, have him jump off a building. I don't know, maybe he starts working in a library and he meets the girl, and all of a sudden, wow, he hooked up to the first verse. That's brilliant. That's nice, man. It's good storytelling. So that's another technique you have. If you're lost, go, wait a minute, what if and your co-writer will think you're crazy. You go, what if you became a fly fisherman? And they're like,
Became a what?
Fly fisherman. You're like, what? Well, we're talking about a truck driver who, I know, but what if he became a fly fisherman? I don't know. And you go somewhere else and you drive down that road and you see things you hadn't seen. And as long as you can hook back up to that original road for the chorus, you've gone someplace that's really interesting, and you just encompass someone's just about their entire life. 18 years old, and now she's tending some bar in Chicago, and look what the midnight drug in. That's a good line. He had that same look in his eye, and he said, sure good to see you again. Man, that's good. Just puts you in that. And getting back to the intention of the song, it spun off that bridge that would have never been there, and it revealed to her that, yeah, there's some truth in that. It was less about the guy and more about the time, and the lake, and the time in my life, and the water, and and less about him and more about the environment and my age and all the sparkly stuff that was going on in my head. Because when I saw him again, oh, here's a great example of it. Walk Away Joe. You know that song Trisha Yearwood recorded? Written by Greg Barnhill and Vince Melamud.
Yeah.
So they're writing the song. Mama told her baby girl, take it real slow. Girl told her mama, hey, I really got to go. He's waiting in the car. Mama said, girl, you won't get that far. Thus are the dreams of an average Jane, 90 miles an hour down a lover's lane on a tank of dreams. Oh, if she could have only seen. But fate's got cards that it don't want to show. And that boy's just a walk-away Joe, born to be a leaver. Tell you from the word go, destined to deceive her. He's the wrong kind of paradise. Great line. She's going to know it in a matter of time. That boy's just a walk-away Joe. I imagine somewhere they went, now what? She got in the car. What, are they going to go to California and get married? What now? And maybe Vince said, hey, what if he held up a liquor store? Okay. Yeah, a little Thelma and Louise action going on here. Okay, let's do that. And so now just a little while into Abilene, pulls into a station, and he robs it clean. She's waiting in the car underneath the Texaco star. She only wanted love, never bargained for this. She can't help but love him for the way he is. She's only 17, and there ain't no reasoning, so she'll ride this ride as far as it can go. And that boy's just a walk-away Joe. Same chorus. And then somewhere in a roadside motel room, alone in the silence, she wakes up too soon and reaches for his arms. But she'll just keep reaching on, because the cold, hard truth revealed what it had known. That boy was just a walk-away Joe. So you got the whole movie there, So I don't know, did they work backwards from, hey, he robs a store, and then maybe at the beginning, maybe, but that's a good example of, she jumps in the car, but the boy that she shouldn't be with, now what? Hey, what if he robs a liquor store? Cool, He could have done a lot of things there, but that was a nice choice, The bridge. Oh, what's a bridge? Hey, do I need a bridge? What's a bridge? Do you need a bridge in your song? Does every song need a bridge? The musical term bridge is one of the most descriptive terms in our discussions of song structure. The analogy of an actual bridge is helpful. A bridge to transport you from one familiar area, like a verse or a chorus, over an unfamiliar area, the bridge itself, and back to a familiar area again. Another verse, or to an unfamiliar area too, like, oh, a solo, didn't expect that. A bridge will take you from a familiar place into it takes you from a familiar place, a verse, for instance, or chorus, and then when you're on the bridge, that's unfamiliar. So that's a brand new territory, right? Takes you to the bridge, and then can drop you off at another familiar place, like, oh, the chorus again. Or an unfamiliar place, like, oh, I didn't expect that solo. You know what I mean? But if you think about a bridge, that's the structure of a bridge. Now, the question you have to ask, in considering a bridge, first ask yourself, does my song tell a story with a beginning, middle, and end? Is my song under 3 minutes but still feels complete? Can I add a solo or instrumental instead of a bridge? If you can answer yes to any or all of these, you probably don't need a bridge. Does my song tell a story with a beginning, middle, and end? Or if it's not a story song, does it feel complete? You know, is my song under 3 minutes? Because sometimes you go, wait a minute, the song's only 2:48. I think we need a bridge. Why? If it feels complete, you don't need a bridge. It's done. You know, it doesn't need anything else. You don't put something on there to make it longer for that only for that reason. You know, add a solo instead, and then come back to the chorus again. I don't know. And can I add yeah. Does it feel complete? Does my song does it have a beginning, middle, and end? And instead of a bridge, which sounds maybe like it's forced, then can I add a solo or something instead of a bridge? Okay, if you've determined that you do need a bridge, then that new material should contrast with everything else that you've heard so far. Most often. Again, this is one of those global things that I said I wouldn't say. All bridges should be different than anything you've heard. No, not necessarily. Some bridges could be the same as the verse, okay? But most often, when it's bridge time, that should be different musically. Obviously, it should be different lyrically, and it should be different melodically, different chord changes maybe. That's 9 times out of 10. You already know that, I guess. Beginning the bridge on a chord you haven't used yet is a good place to start a bridge. And you can also do this. Check this out. You can use a bridge, right? All new music, but make it a solo. Have a bridge section that connects to a chorus for the end of the song, but don't put lyrics on it. Just make it an instrumental over music you haven't heard yet that's acting as a bridge. That's a neat idea. So you have that possibility. You have that choice too. And you'll hear examples of that, and you'll go, oh, that's, bridges don't have to have lyrics.
I gotta say, as a music writer, bridges is one of my favorite things.
You said that.
Right.
You said that before, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I see here.
Yeah.
I hear,
Yeah.
go over here.
And that's beautiful because that's one of your obsessions. Remember I said catalog your obsessions?
Yeah.
Like I have birds in a lot of my songs. And I like major 9 chords. I like a major 7 except with the 9 in there. All right. Again, one of the best compliments you can get as a writer is from your contemporary songwriters who go, I knew that was your song because of that beautiful bridge. She has bridges that are so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I wrote Second Wind, I told you that before, writers were coming up and going, I knew that was you. That's that chord. You have that chord. What's that chord, man?
That 9 chord.
Well, it was different, but it was like a moment, like, oh, it's a jazz chord in a country song, And they said, before I looked in the parentheses, I knew that was you. That sounded so much like you. That is, the populace doesn't care, but when your songwriting buddies go, I could tell that was you, Miss Bridge Writer, then that's a beautiful thing, And you're claiming those obsessions. You're saying this is what I do, and it's intentional. Now, again, not every time, but. Here's the thing about bridges. Where do they begin? Where do they go? And where do they lead? The typical bridge would be after maybe let's say the conventional bridge might be after the second chorus, going into another chorus, or after the second verse, going into the repeat chorus. That'd be pretty cliche, and it works wonderfully when it's supposed to work that way. But bridges can be anywhere. Now, bridges, yeah, you wouldn't start a song with a bridge. You got to have something to contrast it to, right? With. But bridges can show up in interesting places that really work beautifully. And let's listen to a couple ideas here. And you don't expect them sometimes. Yeah, you expect another chorus after the second verse, you know. Well, they finally, listen to, I know it's hard to hear the lyrics sometimes. Listen to the full circle, how this song is just, again, it's this big on the page. It says, well, they finally put that red light up in the heart of town, took the stop sign down. It was shot up anyhow. One night I ran right through it in my Chevrolet. Both police cars came, both of them, but I got away. Chorus, it was a boom town back in '62 till the coal ran out and a drought came through. And they dammed the river we all used to fish. Population 405, and I made it 404 one night and left a city limit sign laying in the ditch. Run plumb over it, leaving Metropolis. Second verse, well, I found myself in a big high rise with a concrete yard. It ain't safe after dark. Guess this old boy drove too far. Met a girl, fell in love, got married, and she's due in May. Says we're going to need more space. I said, I know just the place. Bridge, where we can walk down to the country store and we won't even have to lock our doors and you can still get air and water there for free. She said, that sounds good to me. Second chorus is a little different. It was a boom town back in '62, same, till the coal ran out and a drought came through, same, and they dammed the river we all used to fish. Population 404, and when we pull in, it'll be 3 more. And there's a city limit sign laying in the ditch that I need to fix. Back in Metropolis. Headed almost in Metropolis. Coming up on Metropolis. I'm back in Metropolis. That's so good. And it's a template of a country song, right? It's the leave the small town, go to the big city and go, uck! And then go back to the small town, you know. Yeah, it's that. We got to get out of this small town, man. And then you go to the city and you go, now, and you come back to the county. That's a archetype of a country song that still needs to be written over and over again. But good luck writing it better than that. I love when that bridge comes. You don't expect it, but it's just right, right? Okay, one more. This is a song I had the pleasure of writing. It's called In the Middle. And actually my co-writer, Dan DeMay, was the one that said, let's go to a bridge. And I said, can you do that? He was, yeah. And then we'll stop. You don't, because you don't expect the bridge here either. But there's a place for me in the scheme of things. That's just a nice surprise. You know, you almost relax and get like, okay, 4 more lines coming, second verse. You know, because it's a list song. You know, you get a little tired. I've stopped to smoke a cigarette when I reach the top of Everest. It's a good opening line. With peace of mind, I've nearly gone insane. I've drank until I'm thirsty, been filled till I was empty, and I have gotten pleasure from the pain. But you keep me in the middle, not too much or too little. And what I realized hit me right between the eyes. You are the key to this riddle, because you keep me in the middle. Second verse, I've hit the mark a winner, but always left of center. I've had it all and I've lost everything. I've ba-da-da-da-dee-da, and I've ba-da-da-da-dee-da. Ba-dee-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da. We could have done that, but it's like, okay. You expect it, but we give you half the verse. I've hit the mark a winner, but always left of center. I've had it all and I've lost everything. But there's a place for me in the scheme of things. Nice. And then you keep me in the middle at the chorus and then out. So that's a nice place for a bridge. Half a second verse into a bridge. If you listen to the song, it'll tell you where it needs to be.